I have just experienced for the third time in just over a month to accept lower pay for increased work or to not get credibility for my work. I don't know. I don't know why this is my experience. I don't know why this is happening. But this is not a coincidence. The first time was my corporate job. I was at my corporate job for 2 years and 7 months. By the time I left, I was the only person there that has been there for 2 years and 7 months because everybody else that started with me has left. And everybody else in the team who are now newer than me have all been promoted at least once, except for me. I was the only Black person. I also taught at least 2 of them, and I also knew everything that they could do and more. And I have the experience at that job. 2 times at that job, I got passed up for a role. The first time was I did not get told about a role, and they created a role for my other teammate, and then they moved him over there. That one's more complicated because they liked him as soon as he got in there. He had a referral, and he was already talking with the higher ups, and they already liked him. I minded my business. Second time, my manager's manager told me to make a specific role for me. I had to make a whole presentation. I had to make all the roles, all the responsibilities, and then present it to all the executives. And I did it really well. Everybody liked it. I had to wait a couple months for the budget to come in after them telling me to make this role for me. So everybody, especially me, was expecting to get this role because 1, it was time, and 2, my manager's manager told me to make this. I spent time and labor. I didn't get the role. Can you imagine that? Just imagine that really quickly. Imagine your manager's manager tells you to make a job. Y'all talk about it, y'all plan it, y'all go over it, y'all have meetings about it, checks this off. And then 2 months later, they casually come out and say, not in the budget. Didn't even have a meeting with me one-on-one. It was just casually slipped out in a team meeting. That's anybody can call it what they want to call it, but that's not a way. That is not a professional way to go about that situation. Thus, it can be interpreted as disrespect. And not even disrespect, but it's just not right. It's just not the best thing to do to your employees. Especially when I have on record and off record, I have not done anything wrong and I've done everything very well. On and off record. That was the first time, and that was why I left my job. Then the second time, which I'm very grateful for. I'm very grateful for this apprenticeship. I'm very grateful to be in the studio. I'm very grateful to do this work. But I'm doing it. I am driving 40 minutes each time. I'm doing very basic work. I'm cutting. I'm doing very, very, very basic elementary sewing. Very, very, like, anybody could do this. But it is still labor. It is still labor. And this person, like, we align very well. I'm not getting paid. Then the third time, today, I get, they like my resume, they have me for an interview, I do everything the right way. They say they like me. I show them some work I've done. I do some alterations, not alterations, I show examples of sewing that they wanted me to show after the interview. This was not part of the interview. I showed that to them after the interview. And I did it well. And so for this specifically, it was an alteration. This role I applied for was for an alteration specialist role. I would be specializing in alterations. That was the role that they picked me for. That was the role I applied for. That was the role they picked me for. That was the role I interviewed for. That was the role they liked me for. And then a couple of days later, they say that they are no longer hiring for the alteration specialist role. However, they are doing a sales associate role. Right? Okay, so like, you know, you could be a little perplexed, but you'd be like, okay, right? But there's an addition. I asked for clarification, and they say that you will be doing a sales associate role, but you will also be doing the alterations responsibilities as a sales associate. And then ask if I want to proceed. This is the hiring manager. This is the manager and the hiring manager. So that means that this manager literally asked me to do sewing and to not get paid for sewing. Specifically asked me to gain experience as alterations, and I can't put it on my resume. The role that I applied for and was liked for, it suddenly does not need to be hired for, but you literally tell me in the next time we speak that I would still need to do that, but I would not have that title. All of this happened in less than 6 weeks. 3 times I have been asked to give my labor, give my time, do more than everybody else, and I won't get paid for it. I won't get paid at all, and I won't get recognized for it. And they want me to accept it and be happy, or to not complain about it or not talk about it. What is the next step? When people put you in that position, what is the next step you do? And then hold on. And then you have mental turmoil because you're applying, you have taken yourself out of a toxic relationship. I'm in America. If you exist right now in 2026, you know how hard it is. Anywhere. If you're black in America, there is a long, prominent, very visible line of discrimination, work bias, exploitation and not being accredited, being skipped over, exploited, and just flat out asked to do less. Asked to get paid less to do more. It is 2026. And in 3 different scenarios, I have showed that I am a very hard worker. I have showed that I am a very smart and wise worker. I'm a very efficient worker, and I'm more than qualified. And I have been pushed to make a decision. I have been asked to not get paid. I have been immediately asking me to not receive credit for what I do. What does someone have to do? And the fact that we still have to experience this, and maybe all 3 times there's something I'm not missing. There's something I'm missing. It's just especially for this recent one, where a hiring manager interviews me, brings me in, interviews me, likes me for a specific role, then tell me they are not going to have that role, but still wants me to do those responsibilities for a lesser paying, non-credifying job. I would never in any position ask somebody to do a job and then not get credited for it, or to do a job and not get paid for it. I have never done that. And I can't imagine myself doing that. Can you imagine if you're an adult, or if you're gonna be an adult, can you imagine asking someone you believe in? Can you imagine asking someone that you like? Can you imagine asking someone that you know is qualified? Because you have validated this person that they are qualified, and then ask them not to receive credit on their resume that they have done the job, and then have also asked them not to get paid for exactly what they should be getting paid for. Can you imagine asking that, flat out? It's asinine. And then I and other people in this predicament are in a situation, and now an ultimatum, where they have to ask or say, is there another way? Is this the only thing? What would literally be the next step? What would be the next alternative? You're qualified for the job. They want your work. They want your labor. You have literally been validated that you can do it. You have literally been validated that you are qualified. And then at the end, they all tell you in some way, shape, or form that they don't want to give you credit, or they will not pay you for the work that you're gonna do, or you are doing. If that happened to you all of your childhood and all your teenage years, how do you think you would feel about yourself in your late 20s? When you've been validated, but then backhanded and not treated like your worth. How do you think you would see yourself? How do you think you would see other people when they get paid their worth, or they get shown their worth, and you don't? What conclusions do you think you would come to about yourself? It's just very sick because it's like I and other people are young adults still forming their brain, and people are going and people are intentionally acknowledging and then still requesting to exploit someone, flat out asking to be exploited, and then punishing them if they say, I don't want to be exploited. I just want the credit of what I've done. And it's like I'm actually trying to make myself not feel bad for just speaking up. Just speaking up. This is happening everywhere. This is happening to people everywhere. This is happening to a lot of people that looks like me. This is happening to a lot of people who are not financially stable. This is happening to a lot of people and you won't hear it. They have to sign agreements. This is why Black people and Black queer people are not behind those doors. This is why Black queer people and Black people, Black women, Black men are not in those rooms. And it's not because they're not qualified. It is 2026 years after Jesus walked this earth. And Black people have and still are and will do just as much as everybody else, and arguably even more, and have arguably even more of an impact in whatever they do. And there's only less than 17% of us in America. And we have undeniably made an impact. We always make an impact. And if you don't believe me, they verify it for us. And my body, my experience, people are asking me to accept less. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? I think this is just so weird to experience over and over and over again. To go to therapy, to retrain your brain, to tell yourself that you are worth something, to retrain your brain that you are worth being here, to retrain your brain that you are worth what you ask for. And your literal environment keeps asking you keeps directly asking you to accept less for your livelihood. For your livelihood. That's all, guys. It's my rant.